some people want to believe that the world done it to them. That's why people go and shoot up things and, kill people. The world didn't do it to you. So I think that's something that I just said, that the world is good. You want to touch the inside of a person's thought. How do they move? Why do they move that way? What makes you drive? The person that's took whatever happens in their past and still strive to something as great as the presidency. So I could have let my past define me, my situations define me, but that didn't define me. What defined me was my actions.
What's up? I'm Matt. Welcome to Earth Monster, the storytelling show that celebrates vulnerability and speaks to the darkest, messiest little parts of your heart about the lies that we tell ourselves every day, the stories that we use to get out of bed, the fantasies that we let propel our lives. I call these things necessary delusions. You probably call them something different, but I am trying to have a conversation about the biggest ideas that we have had about ourselves and the world around us that have helped to shape or misshape the path that we have taken in life. So if you are the kind of Earth Monster who is interested in self-discovery, or maybe you feel like you're in a rut, maybe you feel like you are stranded on the necessary delusion of a former self and you're just trying to climb out of the hole, then subscribe to the show, because I get so much out of listening to all of these people's stories. And the more I hear other people talk about the stories that have helped to shape them, the more I find myself letting go of my own. And it is incredibly freeing. So I wonder if you'll feel the same. Today we are talking to FD Brisco III. He responded to this ad that I post on Craigslist in the creative gigs section in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, San Diego, Seattle, Portland. I'm not really sure anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm so happy to be talking to all these people. We had a great conversation today. I was really excited to get onto this call because he wrote me a little blurb beforehand, letting me know that he has run for president. He's running for president again. And, he's talking about the problems with the two-party system. And I really didn't know how to take a message like that. All I knew was that I was talking to someone with a big idea, with a big passion, and sort of at a time when, I don't know about you guys, I'm pretty disillusioned by the whole sort of political machine. So it's pretty interesting to me to hear about this guy who was sort of looking to insert himself into it. So I hope you will look for a piece of yourself in FD Brisco III in his story, because it is there. You just have to want to see it. And I definitely saw a piece of myself. So without further ado, let's go now to my conversation with FD Brisco III. What ideas have you used to help you cope with your life?
Yeah, okay. So if I say some ideas that help me cope, I would have to say that the world is good. That the world is good. And no matter what's going on, it's not everybody in the world. And that's a good way to maneuver through the world. No matter what's going on in your life, it's not the whole world. And it's not the whole world fault that something is happening in your life. It's your life, it's your world, and things happen. And I think that some people want to believe that the world done it to them. That's why people go and shoot up things and, kill people. The world didn't do it to you. So I think that's something that I just said, that the world is good. The world is great.
That's a good one. I don't want you to get too tripped up on the word delusion. I use it very playfully. Like I say, these are just, well, why don't we start this way? What was the most important thing in the world to you when you were 11 years old?
I had a strange young growing. So when I was 11, I was honestly survival. Survival was the best. But I used to play with my little G.I. Joes at the same time. So think of an 11-year-old packing a gun, but at the same time go home and play with his G.I. Joes and He-Man and She-Ras, and just have a whole little escape of a world with my toys. But once I go out the door, having to uh, take a gun with me at 11 years old. So survival.
A real gun with you.
Oh yeah, a real gun.
Wow. Hard to
Yeah,
find the delusion in that harsh reality, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Can you give me some context around maybe sort of where you were, or like what survival looked like to you, or
I grew up in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, and on the south side of town. And those are a middle class neighborhood. The surrounding areas were not as favorable. So people were dying and people were getting shot. And so as a little kid coming up, you have some peers and the peer group, you know, drugs came around, the crack epidemic hit to our neighborhood. Drug addicts was running rampant. People were stealing at a higher rate. And so survival was wanting to go outside and play with my peers and at the same time come back home to go play with my toys. So the thing that I had to learn within playing with my toys, I created a world of peace within my toys. So at that time I'll go home and play. I didn't stop playing with my GI Joes and Hot Wheels till I was in the 8th grade, going into high school. So that survival mechanism was outside that door, but at the same time, my what I taught myself while I played with my toys allowed me to adjust and take it out into the world and be more aware of how to survive out there in that area. So, yeah, that's how that kind of came together.
how conscious of that dichotomy were you at the time? I mean, that's so extreme to be carrying an actual firearm in real life, and then still playing with toys. You know, like you say, up until 8th grade. How sort of conscious or aware of this were you? Like um, that these were like maybe some extreme circumstances, or maybe this was not everyone in the world, but it
I
was
had
you.
no idea that I was doing it. This is a hindsight statement. You know, at that time, it was normal for me. I knew that once I get home, I'm gonna be able to play with my toys. And then
Yeah,
and when I'm out and about and I go around in the neighborhoods, I had my 2025 with me. So it's like I don't want to die out here, and I'm not gonna let anybody kill me. And at the same time, I used that same concept when I was playing with my toys. You know, we had me and my cousin have a big, we call it battle royale. At some point, we kind of migrate all the old toys out and migrate the new ones in. So they have a war, and these folks have to go. And we had a patriarch in the whole setup that had um, lasted throughout so many years, and so he kind of was an older person that been around. We called him Orangey. He was an old motorcycle guy. You know, his head did like this, and he, but we took I took that concept and whatever I was learning, and now I used it out. So was I conscious of it or was I aware? I knew that I was doing it, but not to the sense of how I just described it.
yeah. You know, it's so interesting too, because it's like the reason I asked that question about 11 years old is because it sounds like you listened to a little bit of the old version of this podcast I was doing. I've asked that question to a lot of people, and I really sort of targeted 11 years old as this point where, you know, we still kind of have one foot planted in the delusion of childhood. We're sort of mid step, you know, it's one foot in delusion of childhood, and one foot is sort of going into the adult world and sort of realizing, oh, I'm going to be one of these grown-ups one day. Like, I wonder what kind of grown-up I'm going to be in. I ask the question time and time again, and I really find that, you know, most of us are still carrying some of those core ideas about ourselves with us throughout our lives. And to me, it sounds like I say, you sort of had this kind of balance, right? Where it was like the harsh reality of real life, and then this sort of like, you know, this world of peace that you were creating yourself with your toys. I wonder if that rings true to you, and if so, maybe how you have continued to carry those ideas with you throughout your life.
I would go to the original statement. um, that the world is good. And that's the thing, that once I created that world in my toys, I took that same and embraced that as the world, because I know that even within my toy structure, things may happen, but there was still good that we were bringing into the toy structure. Having my sister having some Barbie dolls, and we going over there and doing whatever we try to do, sometimes damage their Barbie dolls. So but everything was mostly good. And so I took that same concept and brought it into the world. So no matter if I was out there with a gun or not, I still was out there thinking peace. I'm a Libra, so balance is my thing. So I think that's how I was able to balance it, because it kept me stable, understanding that this is a full dynamic to be this way, but show love. And then I knew God. So because I was a believer, I knew that peace was somewhere.
Can you think of some other examples in your life of maybe how you've sort of created that sort of controlled peace, or maybe even a sense of play that sort of stands out to me too? That you kind of had the toys, even though the reality was much darker. But it's I wonder, maybe talk to me about when you were, I don't know, whenever you were sort of like leaving your house and stepping out into the adult world, the independent, your independent adult life for the first time.
So we can say this is and Matt, thank you. Let me go ahead, and before we go any further, no, I don't want to be in the whole podcast and never give you a thank you for creating this opportunity for people to be able to just have their delusions expressed, because you never know who's going through it, and somebody might need that understanding. So thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. It's really a pleasure and an honor.
Absolutely,
So
man.
just I didn't get a chance to say it because you went in, and I don't want to get past that. But
Yeah.
okay, so but
Thank you.
that next phase would be I end up, well, years later, it was a Maury Povich type situation. It wasn't mine, but they were not mine. But as a young child, now I'm in 15, 16 years old, and here come a child. So I had now I'm in the real world, because I have a child of my own at 15 years old. And and so having that child at that such a young age, I started to look at what my mom was actually doing, paying the getting toilet paper, getting my clothes, uh, paying the water bill. So having that and still going to school and not letting that be my downfall. So
Yeah.
that was my second time of understanding that the your decision is your decision, and it's not the world fault of what's going on. And if you don't take still your life into control, you will lose it, and you might not. So at the same time, you might not survive. So at the same time, I took that experience, and I still um, prevailed in school, was in honors classes, became the a guy they call it like the king of the school, became some known as Mr. Worthen. So not only did I take that opportunity, having a child and showing that a young man could still go and be in honors class and become a head of the school, be the representative of the school, no matter having something as serious as having a child. And it was a big discussion, of course, because how you gonna be a representative of the school and have a child? You don't seem like a good representative at that point. But because I carried myself in such a manner, understanding the real world, that these are things that happen, and this child is not the problem. It was my decision to have unprotected sex, and to bring forth the child. So if I once I understood that, I took that and embraced it, because now I am in the real world. I have the same responsibility as my parents. So it's not like I can't understand what they're going through. And how do you adjust? You still keep the peace. It's not the world that done it to you, did it to you. It's your own actions.
I'm feeling the impulse here to just really address kind of the elephant in the room. You wrote a little something to me on the calendar invite about your ambitions and all of that, and it's interesting talking to you and thinking about that. So I'll just say, ambitions to be president of the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ambitions
So
to be president of the United States.
and I know that you had talked about wanting to talk about the 2024 election. I've got to tell you, I really this to me the this podcast is about really highlighting sort of the endless universal similarities between people. There's so many things that are sort of dividing us, and so you can maybe understand how I might be a little hesitant to like talk about something like politics, but I'm really interested in your ambition to be president. Seems like a job like no one would want right now, and and here you are. So do you want to? Can you address that a little bit, or kind of where did that idea come from? Like, are you actively pursuing this? Like,
Yes. Well, it came from elementary when I was 10 and 9 years old. That I had the opportunity to believe that I could be a president, and so
and what was
going
that
through life,
opportunity in elementary school?
my teacher asked me, "What do you want to be?" And I was like, "I want to be the president." And it's like, the president? How you gonna, of course, in our society, how you gonna be the president? You can't be the president. This and this. And she said, "Okay, I believe you will be." And just that confirmation from my teacher. You're in elementary, your teacher has a lot of power in just how they can guide you to belief. If she'd have said, "You'll never be the president," my peers couldn't influence me, but I'm waiting to hear from that teacher. And once she said, I never forgot it. And so I took that thought. And so my ambition was to become, be that change, be that, show that you could come from this area and still want for this country. You still want, everybody might not love this country, but that stays here, that lives here, that is from here. But it sure is a lot of people trying to get here for some reason. They're not staying in their country. So it's gotta, if you recognize that there must be something good here, that people are willing to risk their lives to travel to become a part of here. So that right there just speaks volume, but people don't see it in that way. And that's that same thought of seeing how the world is. And so my ambition is how to really uh, make that change in the best way. Be that change. Show that it's not about the color. It's not about the history, the legacy. You got to be a politician. Thanks to Donald Trump that he broke that again. He broke it. We started that way. Everybody wasn't politicians that were presidents, but we got away from it. And so now, I just want to come in. I tried it back in 2016, so it's not my first role. And then I laid back on 20, and then I started again for 2024. But so much going on that they just made me quiet. They quieted me down, but they took a lot of my ideas, which is great. I had a lot of influence on it. Whether that's another conversation. So yeah, your podcast is something different because I like to be able to address the realness of a person, what we go through, not only as a person that wanted to be a, the president of the United States, but just a person that's took whatever happens in their past and still strive to something as great as the presidency. So I could have let my past define me, my situations define me, but that didn't define me. What defined me was my actions. And that's what made me want to be a part of your podcast, because you want to touch the inside of a person's thought. How do they move? Why do they move that way? What makes you drive? You were speaking to some parents, and the parents, the mother and the daughter, the your, I don't know if you said they were your cousins or something. They had, so I was listening to it as I was doing work. You know what I'm saying? So um, you know, you're just touching the regular person, let them know, like you, as you stated, we all have some similarities, no matter how far we are. And most similarities is most people want the good in life. Majority of the people really want good. The majority of the people really want peace. A good number of people don't know how to get peace, not only in the world but within themselves.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to go back to that little kernel that you sort of just touched on with your teacher. Like, I mean, you obviously remember that moment now. You're a grown man remembering as, 9, 10-year-old kid being told by your teacher, like, okay, I'm gonna wait and see you do it. How much did you carry that memory with you? How much did that memory help to drive your actions throughout your life? I mean, did you keep that as motivation? Did you keep that as, or did that sort of build confidence that kind of allowed you to do everything else?
I think because of having the presidency being such a big thought, as a kid, it
Yeah.
kind of everything else that comes under that route is attainable. So it just made anything that's under there attainable. If you say I could make it to here, then anything under here is attainable. So I could
Yeah.
be this, I could be that, I could be this, I could do this, I could do that, I could. So it just build until So is this the pinnacle? No, I don't. That's not my pinnacle. But at the same time, it allowed me to understand that if I'm able to do this up here, then anything here is attainable. And
Yeah.
that's what it built for me, that kind of confidence of anything is attainable. Because if you're saying I could do this, uh rest her soul, Miss Muhammad, her name was Muhammad, and she was known as the meanest teacher. Like, she back then used to get your hand tapped on and stuff, so she was known as the meanest teacher in the school. So everybody was dreading to be in her class, like, but when I got in there, she actually was a good teacher. She really cared. So the other teachers didn't really care. So of course people want the easy way. And so here I am, guys. I was like, man, I hope I don't get Miss Mummit. Boom, there go I'm in her class. Like, oh man, but she was better, the best teacher, because she also uh she was a caring teacher, and she gave you the real. And if she said it, then it stuck harder, because she was known as the mean teacher from a kid on up. It's like, don't be in Miss Mama's class, man. And
Hmm.
then I'm like, man, I ain't gonna get it now. And boom, I land in this class. So you dreading for 4 or 5 years, and then here the class you in. But she was the one that was one of the teachers that gave the real. And I had a lot of female teachers, and I remember from kindergarten to fifth grade, most of my teachers were considered the hardest. And so it's like, why am I always getting the hardest teachers, right? But how do you get out these hardest teachers? But I think it was for the best.
Yeah. So has your career been in politics? Did you go? Was it a linear path that way, or what have you? How have you used that to sort of? You're shaking your head. So why don't you
Yeah, no, I haven't
tell me
even.
what
I had
happened?
never been really caught up in the politic world. I think I just was, man, you know what? It's time in 26, 20, time to 2014, 2015. But I did used to do a lot of public speaking and community works for
Hmm.
youth and things as such. So I done a lot of things for youth, um, leading you to a better path from the people that helped lead me to a better path. I just passed that on in time. And so I think just wanting to see the world feel, if I could do it to the youth, then what impact can I give to the nation? And because we have such a great nation, what impact would that make on the world? So I think it's just the one to give good to people is what made me say, well, that position allowed me to have a bigger voice. You know what I'm saying? So people listen to the president, and so you're able to impact more people. And how can I take that and impact the world with it for the best?
So FD Brisco III. Maybe do you have a plug for yourself? Where can people learn more about your mission, your cause, what you're doing, get involved, that kind of thing?
All right, you could go to. I'm on. You can find me on YouTube. FD Brisco III. I've had some podcasts on the number one spot and conscious mindset, where you can kind of get some real some questions that was dealing with the time of the political run, and then you can be able to find me on those, and you can kind of get a concept of who and how I think politically. But right here on Matt LeBlanc's, which is one of the best, the Earth Monsters. I like your energy. I said, this is a great podcast and I wish you the best. I would love for you to have me back and us to go further on some things, but just to get a lot of these kind of personal past things out, this is like a podcast that everybody needs to be a part of.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I just a couple more things here. So, do I have your permission to share this conversation online and social media, all that stuff?
Sure. Yes, you do.
Um,
Sure.
Great. And then maybe you could just wrap us out with some creature comforts. Do you have some creature comforts, things that you use every day, habits or material things, something
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Smile every day. Don't ever let somebody take your smile away. Like you got a nice smile, Matt. Don't so when things are uh somebody seem like they're coming at you, just smile. Smile within first. Know that you can smile within, and then that might help you smile without. And so just smile, just smile with yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I know this is a crazy day, but I'm gonna make it through this. And so you just smile. So those creature comforts I do is just find a way. I mean, me, I rank on myself in the morning. I get in the mirror and I probably start just uh, jousting on myself. Look at Joe, and I just I just start giving my own self. So by the time I go out in the world, I'm already happy because I didn't just had jokes on myself for probably about 10, 15 minutes. I'll walk away from the mirror still talking about myself in the joke, and I'll be like, man, I'll be tripping. But just to keep that smile and good energy.
Here's a question for you. How about how do you treat your at-home personal space compared to the way that you sort of approach the world when you leave the house in the morning? I'm sort of thinking of that. I'm thinking of that kid that was like creating with the GI Joes and then carrying a gun out into the world. These two feelings. I'm wondering, are you still creating a space at home? It sounds like you're engaging the world with a big smile on your face. I'm just
Yeah, and I did then, so that's why people didn't know that I probably would have shot him. But you keep your, they probably wouldn't have seen it coming. But hey, just leave me alone. So you just keep that same concept of take peace, because peace is what everybody needs. So um, if I have peace at home, I just take my peace into the world. And so while wherever my peace is at home, I just take that into the world. And same as I did as that kid, I took my peace into the world. And that's how I maneuver every day into the world. Just take my peace with me everywhere I go.
I,
Because it's mine. It belongs to me. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to, it's mine. So if I choose to allow you to take my peace from me, then that's by my choice, because my peace belongs to me. So you can't really take my peace from me unless I allow you to.
and we end with peace and a smile. The world is good. That's what I need to believe. That's a real glass is half full mentality that I can appreciate. Your decision is your decision, and it's not the world's fault. That feels essential. It is actions that define us. And most people want good. That's a good reminder. Most people want good. They want peace in the world, but a lot of those people don't know how to get peace even in themselves. So, how do you get peace? How do you find peace in yourself? How do you smile from within? I want to thank FD Brisco III for his story today and for sharing his big dream of becoming the President of the United States, because, as he puts it, Having a big dream makes everything else feel attainable. So look for your peace, smile from within, smile every day, and remember, your peace is your peace, and the only way it can get taken away from you is if you let it get taken away. So here it comes. Figure out what kind of earth monster you want to be. Get an idea and hang on to it tight like a dog with a bone, like FD did with his idea to become the president. And think it, feed it, do it. Oh, and subscribe to the show, because I cannot tell you how many awesome, real, relatable characters we have coming. I've been having too many good conversations, and you're not going to want to miss them. So we will be back next week with more epic, everyday stories of success and redemption. You'll see me next time.